Hey, welcome. So today, we're going to unravel a story that connects two worlds you probably never thought had anything to do with each other. We're talking about the invisible digital world of clicks, streams, and AI, and the very real, very physical problem of a major city's housing crisis. It's a fascinating and honestly a super critical issue.
So, what on earth could possibly link you binge watching your favorite show on a Friday night to a family not being able to move into a new home? Well, the answer is kind of hiding in plain sight, and it all comes down to one thing: power.
Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the problem on the ground in London. Then we'll uncover the surprising culprit behind it all. We're going to see just how big this crisis could get, what people are trying to do about it right now, and finally, how we can even begin to plan for a future where our homes and our digital lives can both get the power they need.
All right, let's dive right in with London's housing gridlock, where a major city's development has, quite literally, hit a power wall.
Okay, so imagine this. You're a developer, you've built all these brand new homes, people are ready to move in, but you can't hand over the keys. Why? Because you literally can't connect them to the power grid. This is exactly what started happening in West London. It wasn't a lack of bricks, it wasn't a lack of workers, it was a complete shortage of electricity.
And look, this isn't just some minor hiccup. According to James Small-Edwards, who chairs the London Assembly Planning Committee, energy capacity has become a real constraint on the city's ability to grow. We're talking a fundamental roadblock to providing homes and jobs. Which brings us to the big reveal. So where is all this power actually going? Let's pull back the curtain on the unseen energy drain that's powering everything we do online.
The answer is in these buildings, data centers. You can think of them as the massive engine rooms of the internet. They're these giant warehouses just packed to the rafters with powerful, energy-hungry computers that make everything possible, from streaming your movies to hosting websites to training the latest AI models.
And to really get your head around the scale of this, just look at this number. A single, typical data center can use up as much electricity as about 100,000 homes. Let that sink in. One building using the same amount of power as a small city. It's wild. So this creates a fundamental trade-off, right? The power for one of these data centers, which serves millions of digital users, is basically the same amount of power needed for an entire community's lights, heating, and appliances. They're both competing for the exact same finite resource from the grid.
And here's the thing. This problem isn't just a one-off in London. It's really a preview of a much larger long-term challenge. We're not just talking about today's delays. We're looking at a looming power crisis. The alarm bells really started ringing back in 2022. That's when the Greater London Authority started looking into reports that some new housing projects might have to wait over a decade, until 2037, just to get plugged in. Now, while some short-term fixes have been put in place to avoid that absolute worst-case scenario, the underlying problem hasn't just disappeared. Projects were still set back. In this chart, this just shows why the urgency is so high. While data centers used less than 10% of the UK's total electricity last year, their demand is projected to absolutely skyrocket. We are talking about a potential increase of up to 600% in the coming decades. That's not a small jump. It is an astronomical surge in demand. And this growth isn't some far-off prediction. It's happening right now. The UK already has nearly 450 of these places, with another 100 in the pipeline. And here's the kicker. More than half of those new ones are planned for the London area, which just concentrates this incredible demand for power in a region that's already feeling the strain. So, okay, when you're faced with a challenge this massive, what's actually being done? Let's take a look at how city leaders and different industry groups are scrambling to find a solution. You can really feel the urgency from the business community. They're making it clear that the current timeline for upgrading the grid just isn't going to work. Andrew Dakers from West London Business put it plainly, saying that waiting 12 years for more power is just too far when the demand is hitting them today.
And then you've got the other side of the coin, the people who actually build the houses. The Home Builders Federation is making a direct appeal. They're saying it's essential that the government steps up and puts serious investment into the national grid, to make sure there's enough power to support the new homes that the country so desperately needs.
So it's becoming pretty clear, right? A few short-term fixes aren't going to solve a huge long-term problem. This new reality really demands a whole new way of thinking about how we plan for our city's future. And here are some of the concrete steps being proposed. The London Assembly Committee has recommended, first, that we start treating data centers differently in the whole planning process. Give them their own special category. The idea is that this would help coordinate energy use way better. And second, they've called on the mayor of London to create a specific, dedicated policy just for data centers in the city's master plan.
Now, the good news is, it seems like people are starting to listen. The UK government is looking into bespoke options, especially with its new AI Energy Council. And the Mayor of London's office confirmed they're already working on this for the next London plan and that they'll carefully consider the committee's ideas. So the issue is officially on the radar.
And that all brings us to this final, really critical question. Because this whole story in London, it's basically a preview of a challenge we're all going to face. As our world gets more and more digital and our hunger for data grows exponentially, we have to ask, how do we decide who gets priority on the grid? How do we balance the power we need for our digital lives with the power we need for our actual physical ones? It's a huge question we need to start answering, and soon. Thanks for tuning in.